welcome to our deep dive, everyone. This one is going to be really fascinating, I think. We're going to be exploring the life of Stephen North.
Stephen
Yeah,
North.
he's described himself as an activator, but he's also a musician and a computer technician.
Okay, that's quite a mix. So what do we have to go on for this deep dive?
You actually provided us with quite a bit of material this time. We have his website, of course.
Uh-huh.
There are also a couple of what seem to be channeled readings about him.
Okay. Channeled readings, interesting.
Yeah, and we have a recording of a session with this spiritual advisor named Cassandra.
Oh, wow. So we've got some different perspectives to work with here.
Exactly. And they all hint at some really interesting stuff.
Like what?
Well, it seems that Stephen was fascinated with technology from a very young age, and there are hints of a deep spiritual journey.
I'm intrigued already.
Oh, and there's this possible connection to the constellation Orion that keeps popping up.
Orion. That's unexpected.
Now, right. I'm really excited to dig into all of this with you.
Me too. Let's dive in.
So Stephen's website tells us that his love for tech started really early.
Oh.
Like, picture this.
Yeah.
His parents had a computer back when those big, clunky monochrome screens were all the rage.
Wow. That's going way back. Not many people had computers then.
I know, right? Must have been quite something. And it seems like that sparked a real curiosity in him.
Makes sense. A computer like that back then must have seemed like magic.
Totally. And it wasn't just a passing interest for him. It really took hold. He was constantly tinkering, building things, teaching himself how computers worked from the inside out. His website mentions that.
That's impressive. That level of dedication, especially at a young age, it's not just playing games, it's a real passion.
Absolutely. And that passion led him to start his own computer business. Can you believe it?
Oh, wow, really?
Yeah. It was called West Australian Personal Computers. He even went on to earn all these certifications. CompTIA plus MCDST, MCP.
So he was serious about it, huh? Not just a hobbyist.
It seems that way. It really speaks to his drive to master this field, to understand the complexities of technology.
That's a good point. And that kind of analytical thinking, that desire to understand complex systems, could be a key to understanding his later spiritual explorations.
It's like he was applying that same meticulous approach to unraveling the mysteries of consciousness and energy.
Exactly. It's like he saw the human mind and spirit as just another complex system to explore.
Right. And speaking of exploring consciousness, we have this recording of Cassandra, the spiritual advisor, who supposedly channeled some information about Stephen.
Okay, this is where it gets a little bit out there. I'm curious to hear what she has to say.
Yeah, this is where things get really interesting. She mentioned something called scalar energy.
Scalar energy. I'm not familiar with that term.
Me neither, really.
Hmm.
But she suggests it's some kind of unique energy that Stephen possesses, and it's actually in conflict with Earth's electromagnetic systems.
Huh. That's a pretty bold statement. So what, is Stephen like some kind of walking energy anomaly?
Well, she doesn't go into a ton of detail, but she links this scalar energy to Stephen's connection with Orion, the constellation.
Orion. What does a constellation have to do with scalar energy?
Well, according to Cassandra, Orion is associated with advanced technology and beings with very high levels of knowledge.
So she's implying that Stephen's interest in electronics could be connected to Orion, like some kind of cosmic influence.
Yeah, almost like a calling from a place of advanced technology, light years away.
Okay, now that's a big leap. Connecting a childhood interest in computers to a constellation, that's pretty far out there.
I know, but it's a fascinating idea, isn't it?
I'll give you that. It's definitely food for thought. So what else does Cassandra say about Stephen?
Well, this is interesting. She talks about him feeling different, like he didn't quite belong, even as a child.
Like he was an outsider.
Exactly. She uses this really powerful image. She describes him as feeling like the only black child in a white village.
Wow, that's a striking image. It really conveys that sense of isolation, of not fitting in.
And she suggests that instead of people embracing this uniqueness in him, they tried to force him to be normal, like fit into a mold that wasn't really him.
It sounds like they were trying to suppress the very qualities that made him special.
And wouldn't you wonder if that pressure to conform, to be someone he wasn't, maybe that contributed to him seeking answers in more alternative spiritual realms later on?
It's definitely a possibility. When you're told you're different in a negative way, you might start looking for where you do belong. And maybe that led him to explore different paths.
Right. And this brings us to something else that's mentioned both by Cassandra and on Stephen's website, the Melchizedek order.
The Melchizedek order. Now, who are they?
Well, according to Cassandra, they're a sort of brotherhood associated with, you guessed it, Orion.
Orion again. There seems to be a theme here.
Right. And they're focused on advanced knowledge, particularly technology, and something called sacred geometry.
Sacred geometry.
Yeah, it's a whole other rabbit hole we could go down, but essentially it's about the mathematical and geometric patterns that are found in nature and the universe.
Okay, I'm getting a sense of the connections here. So, Stephen, fascinated by technology, possibly influenced by Orion, and now connected to this Melchizedek order that's all about advanced knowledge and sacred geometry. It's like a pattern emerging.
Exactly. And we're just getting started. There are a lot more layers to unravel here.
Well, I'm ready for the next layer. This is getting really intriguing.
Welcome back to our deep dive into the life of Stephen North. Before we go any further, I just want to touch on something that really struck me from the last part.
Oh, what's that?
It's this idea of Stephen feeling like he didn't belong, like an outsider. We see it in his childhood, and then again when Cassandra talks about his scalar energy and how it clashes with Earth's systems. It makes you wonder if those early experiences, that feeling of being different, maybe that fueled his search for something more, something beyond the ordinary.
It's definitely an interesting thought. Like maybe that feeling of not fitting in pushed him to explore these less conventional paths, which ultimately led him to his spiritual journey. And speaking of unconventional, can we talk about the Draconians? That whole thing really caught my attention.
Yeah, that's where things take a bit of a turn, right? So for our listener who might be hearing this for the first time, what exactly are the Draconians according to Cassandra?
Okay, so she describes them as a reptilian species. And she suggests that they actually interbred with humans way back during what she calls the fall of Atlantis.
The fall of Atlantis. Wow.
Yeah.
Okay, so we're going way back in time here.
We are. Now, I know this might sound a little out there, but it actually ties into a bigger idea that we see in some spiritual circles, this concept of ancestral trauma and inherited energetic patterns.
Okay, I'm following you.
Yeah.
So it's like we carry the echoes of our ancestors' experiences within us, and those echoes can affect us in the present.
Exactly. It's like these energetic imprints that get passed down through generations. And in Stephen's case, Cassandra suggests that he might have inherited this draconian DNA, which she says is impacting his relationship with his own physical body.
So she's saying there's this disconnect between Stephen and his physical self because of this inherited energy. That's pretty intense.
Yeah, she doesn't really get into the specifics of how that manifests, but she does emphasize the need for healing this ancestral trauma in order to fully embrace one's physical form and its potential.
It's like he needs to overcome this inherited baggage to fully connect with himself on a physical level. And this theme of bridging a disconnect, of finding wholeness, it seems to pop up again and again in Stephen's life.
Oh, so.
Well, his website mentions that when he was getting treated for ADHD, it actually sparked his interest in researching the brain and how the mind works.
Interesting. I guess if you're experiencing challenges with your own mind, it makes sense that you'd want to understand it better.
Right. And he even tried to apply his knowledge of computers to understanding the human mind. It's like he was drawing parallels between those complex systems.
That's a fascinating connection. It's like he saw the human mind as this incredibly intricate computer with its own hardware and software.
And this desire to bridge the gap between the physical and the spiritual, it seems to be a core element of his later work with crystals and his heart activation music. He doesn't see them as separate things. He sees them as interconnected aspects of a greater whole.
You're right. It's like he's trying to create a bridge between those two worlds, using technology as a tool to access and harness spiritual energy.
Exactly. And this brings us to another important piece of his journey, his twin flame, Amy North. Have you ever heard of the concept of twin flames?
I have. It's this idea of a soul connection, a mirror reflection of yourself. It's supposed to be this really intense, transformative relationship.
Right. And while Stephen's website doesn't go into a lot of detail about their relationship, it does mention that it deeply impacted his life and inspired much of his work.
If we think back to what Cassandra said about Stephen feeling like an outsider, maybe finding his twin flame gave him that sense of belonging he was searching for. Like being truly seen and understood on a soul level.
Yeah, maybe that connection gave him the strength and the confidence to embrace his unique path and share his gifts with the world. Speaking of which, let's talk about his music. He calls it heart activation music. What makes it so different from, say, regular music?
Well, for starters, he incorporates crystals into his music, like actual crystals.
Yes. He talks about crystals have these pure form of energy, and he uses them almost like instruments, integrating their vibrations into his soundscapes. It's pretty out there, right?
It is. It's like he's found a way to tap into the energy of these crystals and translate that into sound.
And remember how he was fascinated by the brain and how it works? Well, he actually talks about coating crystals with sound.
Coding crystals. So he's using his computer background to, like, program these crystals with specific frequencies.
It seems that way. It's like he's merging his understanding of technology with his intuitive sense of energy.
And this isn't just about making nice-sounding music, right? There's a deeper intention behind it.
Exactly. His website says that heart activation music is all about guiding people toward the light of consciousness. He really emphasizes the importance of unconditional love as a key to unlocking our potential.
It makes you wonder if his own experiences, like finding his twin flame and feeling that deep connection, maybe that led him to this understanding of unconditional love.
It's possible. It's like he's found this powerful force within himself, and now he's sharing it with the world through his music.
That's a really beautiful way to put it. And it's not just theory either. His website talks about therapies, workshops, group sessions, all using this heart activation music.
And people are reporting some pretty amazing results. They're talking about feeling more grounded, more connected to themselves and others, experiencing emotional healing.
It's incredible how he's taken his own journey, his own challenges and passions, and turned them into something that can help so many people.
It really is. It's a testament to the power of embracing our uniqueness and following our own paths, no matter how unconventional they may seem. Welcome back to our deep dive into the life of Stephen North. We've covered so much ground already: his fascination with technology, the spiritual side, the draconians, the twin flame connection.
It's a lot to take in.
I know, right?
No.
But now I'm really excited to dig into what Stephen actually does. Let's talk about his heart activation music and how crystals play a role in all of this.
Yeah, let's get into the specifics. It's one thing to talk about these high-level concepts, but I'm curious about the practical application.
Right. So on his website, he describes crystals as having this pure form of energy,
Hmm.
and he uses them almost like instruments.
Like musical instruments.
Yes. He weaves the vibrations of these crystals into the music he creates.
That's so interesting. It's like he's translating the energy of the crystals into sound.
But remember how we talked about his interest in the brain and how it all started with his ADD, ADHD?
Yeah, he even tried to apply his computer knowledge to understanding the mind, right?
Exactly. And now he's talking about coding crystals with sound. What do you think about that?
Coding crystals. It's like he's using his technical background to program these natural elements with specific frequencies. It's mind-blowing when you think about it.
It is. It's like this fusion of ancient wisdom and modern technology. He's creating something entirely new, and he's very intentional about it. His website states that his heart activation music is designed to guide people towards the light of consciousness.
So there's a real purpose behind it. It's not just about creating cool sounds.
Definitely not. He emphasizes the importance of unconditional love as a key to unlocking our potential. It makes you wonder if his own experiences with his twin flame, that feeling of deep connection, might have led him to this understanding.
It's a beautiful thought. Maybe through his own journey of self-discovery, he found this incredible source of love, and now he's sharing it through his music.
It's like a sonic roadmap for others to navigate their own journeys of healing and transformation. And it's not just theoretical. People are actually experiencing tangible benefits from this. His website mentions therapies, workshops, group sessions, all using this heart activation music.
And people are reporting positive changes.
Yeah, they're talking about feeling more grounded, more connected to themselves and others. They're experiencing emotional healing, deeper self-awareness.
It's amazing how he's transformed his own challenges and passions into something that can help so many people.
It really shows you that sometimes the things that make us feel like outsiders, the things that challenge us, can actually become the source of our greatest gifts. So for you, the listener, maybe this is an invitation to think about the tools you use to connect with your heart, to unlock your own potential.
Exactly. It could be anything. Meditation, spending time in nature, listening to music that moves you. The key is to find what works for you and embrace it.
And remember, Stephen's story shows us that even when we feel different, even when we face challenges, we have the power to create something truly amazing. Thank you for joining us on this deep dive into the life of Stephen North. It's been a fascinating exploration, hasn't it?
Absolutely. It really makes you think about the infinite possibilities of human experience and the many paths to healing and self-discovery.
And that's what we love to do here on the Deep Dive, explore those possibilities. So until next time, keep exploring, keep questioning, and keep diving deep.